Here also one nerve it comes out, that is cervical branch of the facial nerve. This one, cervical branch of facial nerve. This branch it supplies the platysma, which is a muscle in the superficial fascia of the neck, or it is a nerve which in the neck region mainly and partly in the face. It is supplied by this cervical branch of facial nerve, that is platysma. It is commonly asked, and this one also asked marginal mandibular. Why it is called marginal? Because this branch it follows the margin of the mandible. This is the mandible, so it follows the margin of the lower margin of the mandible. So marginal mandibular, because mandibular nerve is another nerve which is the branch from the trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve having three branches: ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. So that one is mandibular, but this one is marginal mandibular. This is the difference. And besides the cervical branch, one vein come out through the apex, and that vein is the retromandibular vein. This retromandibular vein is formed inside the parotid gland by the superficial temporal vein here and maxillary vein from these sides. So this retromandibular vein is formed inside the parotid gland, comes downwards, then comes out through the apex of the parotid gland. After that, it divides into two branches, one anterior, one posterior, called anterior division of retromandibular vein and posterior division of retromandibular vein. Why retro? Because here is the mandible. Here is the mandible. Yes, here is the mandible. So it is like this. So this vein, it is behind the mandible. So they call retromandibular vein. So retromandibular vein, it is a vein comes out through the apex of the parotid gland, then divides into two branches, anterior division and posterior division. In conclusion, I can tell you the structures inside the parotid gland. You can see one is the facial nerve, one is the retromandibular vein, and one is the external carotid artery. And this one external carotid artery, it enters here. Then this is retromandibular vein. I will show you the apex. This is retromandibular vein inside, and one is the facial nerve here. So all these three structures inside the parotid gland: nerve, vein and artery. Most superficially, you will get the facial nerve and its branches inside the gland, and in the intermediate part, you will get the formation of retromandibular vein, and innermost part, you will get the external carotid artery and its terminal branches. So the three zones are there inside the parotid gland: superficial zone with facial nerve and its branches, intermediate zone with the retromandibular vein and its formation and termination, and innermost zone or inner zone by the external carotid artery and its terminal divisions like maxillary artery and superficial temporal artery. This is important because deep to the facial nerve and its branches is the deep part of the gland, and superficial to this facial nerve and its branches is the superficial part of the gland. So while operating on parotid gland, if you like to remove the superficial part of the parotid gland, you can remove the part exterior or outside the facial nerve, not to injure the facial nerve. It is called superficial parotidectomy. And as because the nerves are aligned in this way, so if you make an incision on the parotid gland for drainage of parotid abscess, you have to make the incision horizontally like this, not vertically. If you give a vertical incision, all the branches of the facial nerve may be cut. So the ideal incision should be horizontally directed to avoid the injury of the different branches of facial nerve which are coming out through the anterior border. So all these are about some anatomical features and the structures related to the parotid gland. I am just giving you one diagram on the board. Just look at the board in short.